Hello, Tom Lebecki here with the latest edition of the Armchair NBA. I am excited to invite back a friend. And before I have David speak, I just got to tell you his bio. He's co-founder of Sports One Marketing, partnered with Warren Moon. He formerly served as CEO of the Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment Group. They were the inspiration for Jerry Maguire, top 100 business coaches, has an entrepreneurial podcast called The Playbook, and one of my favorite shows, Entrepreneurs Elevator Pitch, which in my opinion is as better, if not as good as Shark Tank. David Meltzer, welcome back and welcome to the Armchair MBA. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Hopefully to share some stories and lessons to help other people not have to pay the dummy tax, as I say.
Oof. I always say I can buy a new Ferrari, the $400,000 one, and get the keys and dump it into the Hudson River. I would have rather done that than pay the mistakes. And I know yours were greater, so we'll jump right in. All right. So the more I learned about you, I had you on the show, and I'll put a link to the old one. So we'll kind of get past a lot of the formalities, if you will. But we have something in common. We're both one of six, and your father left at an early age. How do you think that kind of formed your desire, to succeed, and how did that form your formative years?
Well, I felt responsible for my mom and my family, even though I was a middle child. I remember candidly, talking to my dad and saying, I'm the man of the house now when he left.
Yeah.
And he actually hit me when I said that. And I think it had a huge impact. And I think I had to, credit a lot of my success early on because of that feeling of responsibility. But I think it also was damaging later on in my life when I moved from the world of not enough, where I was responsible for everyone to make sure they had at least enough to eat and to live. When I moved to what I call the world of for me, the world of just enough for me, buying things I don't need to impress people I didn't like, that became a huge interference or detriment in my life of feeling responsible for not only my family, but for everyone. I mean, I'd have friends come up to me when I was, in my 20s and a multimillionaire. Oh, remember in the 6th grade when, I did this for you and can I borrow 10 grand? I felt responsible for everyone.
Yeah. Well, interesting enough is there's no secret. You wanted to be rich, but kind of for a different reason. If you could share that and wanting to help your mom out.
Like I said, I wanted to take care of my mom and family. And so we had 6 kids in a 2-bedroom apartment in Akron, Ohio. My mom drove a country Squire station wagon that broke down all the time and packed our dinner in a paper bag. I mean, a big treat for my family was to go to McDonald's and get 2 large French fries, pour it in a bowl and share it. That was a huge day out for us. And so I would sit since I was 5 telling my siblings we're hyper academic, that subscribed to my mom's philosophy of doctor, lawyer, failure, fetus not developed till after graduate school, all the things that the black belt of Jewish guilt poured upon us as she was sacrificing her entire life for us, and it had heavy weight and heavy toll on us. I just tell my siblings I'm going to be rich. I'm buying mom a house and a car. And I did that 9 months out of law school and paid off my law loans. But all I wanted to do was provide that house and car to my mom, because that was the only time I wasn't happy, was when we had financial difficulties or stress. Every other time in my life, I didn't even know how poor I was until I became rich. And I didn't know what happiness was about until I became rich.
But what was interesting is you followed the path of a good son, became a lawyer, but didn't practice law. You became a millionaire within 9 months. I appreciate it. I can cross some more things off the list. And but what I find interesting though is you were like, I'm going to be a millionaire. You did it in 9 months. You started helping your family, and it seemed like you had a good set of values. And then you just hockey stick. And I got to take Jordan Belfort. He was on the show earlier a few years back too, and he said wasn't just amazing that you made $100 million, but that you lost it. So let's do the first part of it. How did you get to the $100 million mark initially?
I beat people with time. I have later learned the interval between cause and effect is time. And if we put our emotions, time, value, and energy into the cause, we speed up the time that the effect happens. And so for me, I became a student of time in 3 realms: productivity, how much value I could provide; accessibility, accessing what I wanted and being accessible to others; and this extraordinary optimism. I call it gratitude. I could find the light, the love, and the lessons in everything. In fact, I always said I was kind of the Viktor Frankl of law school. When I was in my second year of law school, I had almost $100,000 of law loans. They were going to kick me out of my law school because I couldn't even afford my credit score went down. They were going to give me my loans. My brother had passed. My older brother had passed, and I sat on my bed, and this was the light, the love, and the lessons. I mean, everything was falling down on me, right? And my father had told me that I made the biggest mistake of my life by going to law school. I got offered a job to sell golf clubs in Japan for 60,000 plus commission, which was more than most lawyers were making at that time in the recession. And I sat on my bed and I prayed to God. And I said, God, if you can give me enough, I get choked up, enough money that I can buy my mom a house, buy my mom a car, and pay off my law loans, I will shovel shit with my hands, 12 hours a day, 6 days a week in gratitude, the same way Viktor Frankl during the Holocaust drank dirty water, fish head soup with gratitude. And that moment, when I got an opportunity to make $1 million in a job, when I got an opportunity, I wasn't going to let it pass. So I utilized my time with productivity, accessibility, and gratitude. I beat people with time. I became efficient, effective, and statistically successful. I call it the power of 64. I said, you know what? If guys like the guys that work there, if they can work 8 hours a day productive, I'm going to be 6 hours a day, 16 hours a day productive. I'm going to learn how to be twice as efficient, so I'm 32 hours productive. I'm going to practice selling so much that I'm going to be twice as statistically successful. I'll have 64 hours a day of productivity 7 days a week. That's 56 days a week of productivity compared to people that had 5. Over 11 times the productivity. That's what I gave this company. And so when I had a comp plan of $250,000 and in 9 months had over $1 million, and they were giving me awards and accolades and telling me what a great salesperson I was giggling inside going, I am not nearly the salesperson as all these other people, but I'll tell you what I am, a master of time, because I pushed 11 years of productivity into 9 months. And so I was way below the comp plan. I was probably about 25 grand. I just learned to be productive, accessible, and gracious.
So I'm with you on that. And what I find interesting about your story is this pearl of knowledge is typically something you would hear after you screwed up. And then it's like, hey, here's what I learned. So respectfully, David, you had some substance stuff that you kicked. You focus on the right vibration.
I partied way too much. Yeah.
Partied a little too much. We all do. But what I find interesting is you had kind of the right mindset and you worked your ass off. You built up. But it looks like part of the reason why you lost $100 million in the first place was you were working off of a certain set of assumptions that were false, or maybe a belief system that was there but not quite there. Can you fill in those blanks for me? And then I want to hear how you got it back.
Yeah, so my mom taught me to enjoy the consistent, persistent pursuit of my potential. And a lot of these great values that I live with were maintained. But what happened was I lost the basic values in my life. And so my attention and intention were put on what other people wanted for me, what I didn't want, what I was afraid of, and what was missing in my life. And guess what I got? More of what other people wanted for me. And believe it or not, most people want for you to fail. More of what was missing, more of what I didn't want. And I surrounded myself with the wrong people and the wrong ideas. And it aggregated on itself, just like the positive behaviors from the time I was 5 aggregated on themselves. And as it doubled and doubled and doubled, I was prepared out of law school to make all that money. And then 3 years after that, sell our company for 3.4 billion. And then after that, go to the Silicon Valley and become CEO of the world, first smartphone for Samsung, and then run the most notable sports agency in the world with Leigh Steinberg. It was just aggregating positive behavior. But what I didn't realize was my negative behaviors were aggregating as I entered that world of buying more, because I had everything I ever dreamed of by 30. So about 30 years old, I started aggregating negative behavior, partying, not paying attention to what I wanted. I was so laser focused on buying that house, car, all my habits were on what I wanted. Now it was what was missing, what I didn't want, and what other people wanted for me. And I ended up, luckily 2 years before I lost everything, changing back the habits because my wife, three things really happened. My dad uh, told me money doesn't, at 30, money doesn't mean everything. You can't buy love and happiness. You're just like
Can you share the gift that he gave you? Because I thought that was interesting.
Sure. Yeah. So he gave me at 30 years old, he hadn't given me a birthday present in 20 years since he forgot my birthday at 10. It is the last time I told him I hated him. This time he gives me a jacket with no pockets, tells me I'm just like him. I tell him I hate him. I'm nothing like him, right? He is a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back end seller, and I want nothing to do with him. 6 years later, I'm running the most notable sports agency in the world with Leigh Steinberg. My best friend, Rob, who I've known since the 4th grade, who actually asked my wife for me at 6th grade camp to go steady. Rob, I invite him to the Masters. He's a huge golf fan. I invite him back, in the cabins with Curtis Strange. I invite him to go to the NetJet party, fly private with me, the whole caboot. And he looks at me and goes, Dave, I'm not going. I said, what? He said, I don't like what you're doing and who you hang out with. I don't care what you invite me to. I'm not going. He said, I'm worried about you. And I told him, I hate you. I'm not doing what those guys are doing. I hate you, man. You're supposed to be my best friend. He said, Dave, you can lie to me all you want, but I'm worried because you're lying to yourself. 2 weeks later, I lie to my wife. I tell her I'm going to a business meeting, and I end up going to the Grammy Awards with Little John the Rapper. I'm not only a millionaire, multimillionaire, but I have access to everything that even billionaires don't have access to. And I come home to my wife inebriated and high, 5:30 in the morning, and she tells me she's leaving, tells me she's not happy. I tell her, you're not happy. I hate you. You're the most inappreciative person in the world. Go ahead, and I wake up the next morning thinking how I'll steal her joy, her happiness by getting divorced and taking the money and the kids or whatever I can take. And guess what? I look in my closet and there was that jacket.
Wow.
Staring at me. And I said to myself, I don't hate my father. I don't hate my best friend, Rob. And I definitely don't hate my wife. I hate myself. As much as I was making money, helping people, and having fun, I hate myself. I am a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back-end seller. And I better take stock, like my wife said, in who I was and what I wanted to become.
You became who you were most afraid of, essentially.
Oh, my greatest fear was to be bankrupt, right?
Wow.
My greatest fear was to be poor. And I had to not only tell Leigh Steinberg, who hired me because I was Midas, my mom, not only did I have to tell and was so shameful of it, but I forgot to take my mom's house out of my name. So I had to tell my mom I was bankrupt and she was moving. And that's when she taught me unconditional love, because when I told her, she didn't break down crying. She wasn't upset. All she was concerned about me. She asked, am I okay? Do you need any money? I said, Mom, did you hear what I said? I lost everything, but you have to move. I lost your house. She said, I heard you. Do you need anything? Right? I'm here for you. And it shook me. And that's when I started living with gratitude again, with forgiveness in my heart to give me peace, accountability, not living anymore in blame, shame, and justification. And of course, the biggest change in my life, Tom, was I always thought I had to get wealthy, get happy, get worthy, and get healthy. What I realized was I am connected to the omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing source that loves me more than even my mom loves me, that always is protecting me and promoting me and not punishing me. And I realized that day that I am happy, I am healthy, I am wealthy, and I am worthy. I have to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it, with the faith in something bigger than me that loves me more than my mom loves me.
Wow. So when you hit rock bottom in terms of financial and you basically lost $100 million, you worked to reclaim that wealth. What was a different strategy the second go around to reclaim your wealth? Because you weren't going to hard party, you weren't going to, run around, which, believe it or not, might have obviously hurt, but it might have helped a little bit as well. But we reclaimed that $100 million of that wealth back. What was the strategy on the second go around, and what was better about it than versus the first time?
Well, I started to institute 5 daily practices that were based off of my values. So I decided that I'd have mid and long-term objectives, no short-term objectives, just paying attention to my daily activities, adjusting as I went from the lessons that I learned. In other words, not being afraid of changing my mind. In fact, taking pride in what I call being a hypocrite, that every time I changed my mind of a midterm or long-term objective, that I would be proud of myself because it mean I learned something. And so I started every day and said, I'm going to look at what I want, not what other people want, not what's missing, not what I don't want, but what do I want personally today, according to the mid and long term objectives? What do I want experientially today? What do I want giving today? What value will I provide? And what do I want to receive today? No longer was I just going to appreciate what I had, meaning add value to what I have. No longer would I just acknowledge what I have by giving it away, allowing it to be lost, stolen, or manipulated from me. But now I was going to truly have faith that I was going to receive. And I was going to make sure every day I knew what I wanted to receive so I could give more. Then once I knew what I wanted, I determined who I can help with what I wanted and who can help me. So I create a system of sponsors and power sponsors. We're either helping each other or we know someone that can help each other. And then my how, which was the one area that I never gave up on, that power of 64, the student of my calendar, the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude, efficiency, effectiveness, statistical success,
Yeah. Yeah.
studying what I had planned for the day, what I didn't have planned. I added a nuance of sleep. I really prioritize my health first and understanding sleep as an ability to recover and to be accessible. Sleep to me is one of the frustrating things in my mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, to make money, help people, and have fun. Majority of people on earth go to bed at night and wake up more tired. This is ridiculous. I'm trying to change that to people. It's like going to eat for 2 hours and being more hungry when you finish eating. It doesn't make sense. But
Yeah.
anyway, that was the how was fine. But where it all changes when you aggregated the what, the who, and the how every day, I now got clarity, balance, and focus on my now. People call it being present. I
Yeah.
call it prioritization. See, people that are present know how to prioritize what's important to them, not prioritize what's important to other people, what's missing, or what you don't want. So through this process of knowing my what, my who, my how, I was living in the now by prioritizing what was important to me, using urgency as a subset, just
Yeah.
like in Eisenhower's matrix of importance versus urgency. That's where I derived that from. But more importantly, what the differentiator of knowing your what, your who, your how, and your now is, instead of searching for my why, I was applying my why. I was applying my faith. I
Yeah.
was identifying the ego-based consciousnesses, the need to be right, offended, separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, guilty, resentful. I was identifying it, only spending minutes and moments in that separation, and then breathing, stopping, dropping to my higher self and reminding myself, remember and recollecting myself to what I want today, according to my mid and long-term goals, who I can help, who can help me, how to get it done, and prioritize immediately. So instead, it increased exponentially the productivity, accessibility, and gratitude in my life, which, believe it or not, attracted that wealth because I cleared so much interference between me and what abundance is. So here's the way I define it. Grew up in a world of not enough. Things were happening to me as a victim. I made $1 million and became a multimillionaire, and the world became just enough for me, buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. It was a value add game. It was all negotiation trade. It was, if I received, somebody else had to lose. I entered a new world the last 16 years of my life. It's called a value add world. It's a more than enough world. So when I receive, I'm adding on to the world so I can give more and create more for someone else. It's not a zero sum game. It's a value add game that I live in. And I have faith in something bigger than me, loves me more than my mom, that there's more than enough of everything for everyone.
So it's funny because I do different type of stuff. I do like some crime stuff. I do some business stuff, and my business stuff doesn't tend to do as well because it's not as sexy, right? But George is on. He is here live, and he's a guy that kind of unfortunately ran into some trouble and he's reinventing his life. And he says, Tom, you can help one person And if you could help me, it helps my daughter, helps my family, etc. So George is a guy who's on the rebound, kind of reorganizing his life. What's your advice? The first thing you should do, or the first things you should do when you hit rock bottom and you want to turn it around? What are the first few? Because you gave a lot of great ideas conceptually, which I love, and the strategically and tactically as well. But what are the first one or two things George needs to do and I need to do and you did to turn things around?
The first thing you should do is ask for help. Find someone that sits in the situation that you want to be in and ask them for directions, ask
Yeah.
them for help.
Yeah.
People think that humility comes from doing it themselves and not asking for help. I believe radical humility is indicative of asking for help. So I still think my great success in recovery is because I continually look for people that sit, like my sleep coach, right?
Yeah.
Sleep became important to me. So I found the top sleep coach for the MLB that helped the Houston Astros win 4 road games to the World Series. And I said,
Wow.
look, I travel 200 days a year like a professional baseball player. Help me sleep correctly. I want to be able to recover better and access more in my life. And I know you can help me because you have the directions. You've done it. So give me those directions. Change my life. I have a money coach because I want a better relationship with money. I have a nutrition coach. I have a coach for all the basic necessities. So
Yeah.
nutrition and hydration. You need to eat and drink to live. Breathing. So I have a meditation coach. You need air to live. And so you better be the best eater, drinker, and breather possible. And then the last one is I have a sleep coach because you will die if you don't sleep. So I took the 4 necessities and knowing that I have the best mentors to give me directions, now my foundation is so strong. All the rest of the things are easy to deal with when you eat, drink, breathe, and sleep right. Everything becomes at ease. It becomes easier. You have got rid of the dis-ease, creating the interference, void, shortages, and obstacles that make things seem so resistant and so hard to do. Everything becomes easy.
Interesting. So one of the things, because we're going to be wrapping up soon, but one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is I got a little bit more into energy, a little bit more about living your truth. But you kind of take it to another level of the vibration. And if you could talk about the 120 rule and also the vibrations that you get, the vibrations you receive. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about that because I think the audience would be interested as well.
Yeah, I think my life changed when I realized from my meditation coach, by the way, that everything vibrates. The earth vibrates the slowest, then plants, animals, humans, then sound, then light, and then thought. And she asked me what thought vibrates the fastest. And she said the truth. What
Mm,
if we could elevate our own vibration, our own frequency by being more interested than interesting, by doing good deeds, by pursuing our truth, by being as honest and as good as we can, only spending minutes and moments in the human nature that everyone has to lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, etc. Only minutes and moments there in ego-based consciousness. What if we could elevate our awareness by elevating our frequency or vibration? Because we can only be aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than us. So
mm,
I
mm.
started to become a clairsentient, to feel things, and not a clairvoyant. I don't see the future, but I feel things. I'm a clairsentient, and I feel vibration or frequency so that I can be aware of more things. The more things we're aware of. In fact, I was very resistant to learning this vibration or frequency through meditation because it was going to be a waste of my time. What did I need? But the woman who taught me said, David, what if I could elevate your awareness or your vibration so you would know when to buy or sell? Imagine how much money you could make. And ironically, as I lost everything, I utilized my frequency to buy things that were oversold and sell things that were overbought, meaning I sold things high and bought things low. And it had nothing to do with my job at Leigh Steinberg Sports Entertainment. I just knew and asked for help from people and said, hey, man, what do you need? And they gave me huge multi-million-dollar orders of what they need. I said, how much are you willing to pay? And I went and found it for less. People ask me, how'd you get back on your feet? I made $1 million within 2 weeks of when I went bankrupt right afterwards, simply
Wow.
by asking people, hey, rich people, the right people that are in a situation I want to be in, what do you need and how much are you willing to pay? And then went out and found it for less and kept the margin.
Wow. And that's tactical. That, like, you know what? Like, everybody listening, that's tactical. Pick 5 people that you want to be in their shoes. Ask them for something. By the way, I got a little special gift for everybody. Well, for 9 people. But with that being said, find those 5 people. Offer something, right? Offer something. What can I do for you? What do you need? How can I best enrich you? And after you do it, say, hey, here's what I need. And is this something you can help me with? And I like the fact that you bring up margin, because just because you're a nice guy doesn't mean, you need to overpay. So really quick, guys, what we're doing is I got 10 books. I'm keeping 1. Sorry. 9 of David's books. All you have to do in the comments is write #book. It will automatically enter you to the contest. When they come in from Dave's team, I will get them out to you. I'm going to give away nine books. So David, we're going to conclude. If you could have dinner with anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why?
It's a tough choice between Jesus Christ, because there's so much conflict. If I could have dinner and know the truth, I think I could resolve a lot of the earthly conflict that we have. Einstein would be the next closest one for me, because I just think that he had the greatest awareness of being a human being. And I'd love to understand the relativity of time. I study time, and that's the key component to me to be efficient, effective, and statistically successful. And then the last would be just my father, because I miss him.
I love it. And real quick, guys, David, how can we find you? I'm going to put everything's going to be below. Everything's already below. But if just somebody wants to reach you,
please reach me directly at my email. I answer all my own emails. You can Google me, David Meltzer. You'll find me on every platform. I'm blessed to have a huge community. But if you want personally help, david@dmeltzer.com. I do free trainings every Friday. I have great groups that we meet once a week. I have a wait list for one-on-one help that I can give you. But please just reach out. And I have some great exercises and guides I'll give for you for free to complement that book you're going to win. So david@dmeltzer.com.
I love it. And real quick before David goes, it's scary. He really does answer all his emails, and he's a very busy guy. David, welcome back. I really appreciate it. We'll be in touch. I'm going to stay on a little bit, guys. I want to unpack this a little bit. And again, David, so much. Thank you for being on the Armchair MBA.
I'll be happy to come back anytime. Thank you for all the help and empowerment you're giving others. What a great show. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah. All right, everybody. So we're going to unpack this a little bit. I don't know if anybody wants to jump in. I'm going to put a link below. To be honest, like, the numbers weren't huge on this. I'm going to blast this out afterwards. So I think we'll get the views that we need to get. But to be honest with you, I had George in mind. I had Teresa in mind. I had certain people in mind that I kind of gel with, that I knew would appreciate this type of show. Feel free to jump on if you want. We're going to stay on for another minute or two. Again, I hate to do this to you. If you could put #book in the comment section when we're done, and then I'm going to pick 9 people, and they will get a book. I got to be honest. I'm trying to shift directions here a little bit too. Don't get me wrong. I love the mob stuff. I'm going to continue to do the mob stuff, but I was able to get David back on, and the guy charges like thousands of dollars an hour for coaching. To get him on, and the fact that he was able to efficiently, thank you, Jovi, he was able to efficiently share that information within a half hour was fantastic. How are you, sir?
What's up, brother?
So listen, I want to shoot straight, and I don't want to put you in the spot. I had you in mind. I had people like Teresa in mind. I had certain people in mind when I had him come back. Give me kind of what you got. We're going to probably do an unpacking later on, but give me what was your takeaway, and how it's going to affect your actions, George.
Well, first off, I want to thank you for telling everybody I'm on my ass and got my life kicked my ass.
Oh, I said you're on
I'm kidding with you. Stop it. I'm kidding with you. No, but thanks for thinking about me, brother. I appreciate it, man. I love you, man. I appreciate it. But yeah, it was helpful. I mean, I wish we could have gotten a little more depth about how he had lost what he did or whatever. I don't know anything. But like he had said, ask. So right, I came to you and asked. I said, Tom, behind the scenes, you and I always speak, and I ask you things about everything. So I've always subscribed to that. My dad taught me that a long time ago. So yeah, it is what it is, man. And obviously, I've thankfully, gratefully got another chance here. So I'm doing everything I can with it, and it's day by day, and it's going to be what it is. But I'm moving forward. I've always, knuckled up and got my piece of the pie and did what I had to do. But it was awesome. I think it was a good thing, man. I wish it was longer, obviously, but
so what happened was we had it originally booked for an hour. He had to cut it short for a half hour. I wanted to keep the time, so I'm trying to, as you know, trying to get a different direction for the show. With him specifically, and I'll send you the link on Jordan Belfort's show, who I'm trying to get him back on too. What happened was he skyrocketed. He got in at the right time. He worked his ass off. He got him to the right people, the jet set, all that kind of stuff. And he had like a golf course worth like $40 million. That was like, I think
but Belfort was more of a scam artist. This guy wasn't that, right?
No, the only thing is this guy did have some substance challenges, but this guy never screwed anybody, and there's not.
That's what I'm saying. He substance challenges. I've been through that. Listen, I've done. That's what I'm saying. He's more of a. Belfort was a straight up scam artist.
I know what I'm saying is he was on Jordan Belfort's show.
Okay.
And the idea is Jordan Belfort did a rebound, but I agree with you in terms of Jordan Belfort wasn't always the best guy. But what this guy did was he did well. He had a golf course. It was worth like $40 million. He had other assets. I think he had like a ski lodge in Aspen. And his assets were more hard assets. And this was around 07 through 09. And we wanted to do some other stuff, and he started having some financial problems. He thought he could just go to the bank and be like, hey, I have $100 million in assets.
They weren't loaning nothing back then.
Yeah, I just need $5 million. They wouldn't give it to him. So he didn't have the liquidity. So when things started crashing, he had to sell. And he literally and then stuff is borrowed or whatever. He literally lost everything. And what was interesting is he really clawed his way back to the top. And you notice he didn't say, okay, I bought a house or I did this, I did that. He kind of focused on internally, and I wrote a ton of notes, but internally on his mindset, getting rid of the blocks, opening other vehicles. And that mindset is what did it for him. And that's what I found amazing, the fact that he bought his mother a house and had to look in the eye and say, "Hey, I need to take the house back."
Yeah, that's terrible.
Earlier on in the episode, so those are the kind of things I look at. I'm always, I'm here to help you always. If I can, anybody who's watching, I'm always.
I know that, brother. And everybody needs to realize you got your own personal stuff too. But I mean, the amount of things you do for other people, man, it's awesome, man. And I appreciate you. And you know that. You obviously know that. But
I'm excited about your journey, though, Joe. I really am. And not just saying this publicly because you're a friend, but I'm excited about your journey because again, I say this all the time. It's not how you begin; it's how it ends. And I'm telling you, man, right. I love where you're at in your journey.
Yeah, man. We'll get there, man. But the other thing, like they say, this is a big business thing, and all the business guys say this shit, and all like Dan, the Penna, and all them, the who, your why, your where, your all. I'm not a business. I didn't go to business school, man. I went on the roof. I got my ass handed to me by my old man. I went on a roof at 10 years old and learned how to do things that way. So does it correlate? Does it mean the same thing? What does it mean? You know what I mean? Well, that's a couple of things. And I don't mean to be like I'm not ignorant. I can understand it, but what does it actually mean? That your who, your why, your when? They always say that shit. What does it mean?
Well, so the one thing with him, okay, so this is interesting, and I'm glad you bring this up. There's a lot of gurus out there. I basically, I'm just gonna fucking brag for a second. We basically offered a $10,000 course in a half hour because this is what you get essentially when you go for these raw stuff, right? But here's the difference with Meltzer, and I think you picked up on that vibration. A lot of these guys are full of shit. When I used to watch Meltzer, I used to watch him a lot, I really thought he was full of shit. He has his messaging, he repeats, whatever. But whenever you email him, he picks up. He did my show, New Theory, when I was a super nobody. To be honest, I'm not that big now. Came on, was respectful. A lot of guys at his level, like, oh, you want me on your show? Oh, by the way, their manager, reaches out and you got to give them $1,500 to come on, Didn't charge me anything. I voluntarily bought books that I'm happy to give out to 9 good folks. And the guy's real. Like he really is legit. Now, again, the repetitiveness of the messaging and that kind of stuff, I could understand if somebody's like, oh shit, why is he like that? That's because he's so focused. You get what I'm saying?
No, I'm not saying the repetitive of the messaging, but that's a lot of people, a lot of the business background is focused to that.
100%.
They always say that your who, your why. Well, what does that mean? Like who what? I know who I am, but your why. What's that mean? Why are you doing this? What is your goal, end game, your goal? Like I didn't go to business school, so is there something like a secret to unlocking?
So here's what he said. Okay. So he goes into it and check out his Jordan Belfort interview. I'll probably drop it on the link below. I kind of structured my interview around that. Selfishly, that's what I wanted to know. It's more the long form. And if you're not a Jordan Belfort guy, there's much other stuff that he has.
No, I watch his stuff, but a lot of his stuff is fluff based on what he did back in the day. And I think, you know what I mean?
Well, no, I get it. But I had to go back to Jordan. I don't want to go back to Jordan. What I'm getting at is with Dave Meltzer, he talks about, you just write down, I'm doing this because, and there's an underline. And that underline is the why. He keeps it so simple. Like, that's what I like. Like he's not, don't get me wrong, he probably has coaching programs and probably some paid stuff. That's how he lives.
No. I'm just asking. I'm personally asking why. Like, put it in layman's terms. What does that mean? And I'm not just saying he's saying that. Everybody says that in the business. Isn't that like when you went to get your MBA? Isn't that what they told you?
Yes.
So
yeah. That's what they
said.
I mean,
so I'm asking you to like break it down into layman stuff. Like, what does that mean? Because it kind of, so it's basically you're gonna go, why am I doing this? Why am I in this business? Or why am I living the life way I'm living? Or why am I focused on doing this for my family? Or what? Like, is it daily? Is it, he said, midterm, long-term goals? Obviously, you want to be somewhere down the road I want to be able to take care of my family, whatever it is. You know what I mean?
So
I'm assuming that's what it means, but I want to know if I'm right or wrong. That's all.
Okay, so let's go through this. You have a second. You're not in a rush, right?
No, I'm in Boston. I had to come up to see some family, but right now I'm waiting for my cousin to get out of the dentist, so I got all day.
Love it. Okay.
I'm not working today.
Love it. Okay, so we're gonna unpack a little bit because I might want to do another unpacking because there's a lot today to uncover in a half hour. So to me, let's unpack this a little bit. To me, the why is, I always like to work backwards, right? Like in business, they say, work from your exit strategy, right? You're going to sell this business someday, or you're going to give this business to somebody, or you may even retire it because that's the kind of like life it has, and then work backwards from that. The same goes with the why. Why do you do what you do? And then how do you do it? And then how do you execute in order to the what, right? So for me, the why is very simple. My why has changed over the years. I am so focused on being a great husband and father to my 3 children, and to be as good of a father to my 4th child is on his way. That's the why I do everything. Now I get tripped up. You saw it for the last few months. I got pulled in.
No, and you are, man. And don't listen. Yeah. That's another thing that aggravates the shit out of me. You get a lot of help for things, and I said it the other night.
I beat myself up too a little bit,
Yeah, you don't have to. Dude, the people that are doing that to you are people that are jealous of you, and it doesn't matter. Let them say what the hell they're going to say. That has nothing to do with you, man. You're a good dude. I told you that, man. Privately, you and I have spoken about what we said, and that's stay between us, but there's no reason for it. I just don't see the reason for it. And I don't know if you saw, Joe and I were speaking on MRE's show the other night, and he feels the same way, man. You're a good dude, man. You don't deserve the shit you get. People just come after you they come after you because I think they envy what you have, and they're jealous of it. That's my opinion of it. Yeah. So for what it's worth, from a guy from the projects that had nothing and grew up, I can see them. They're acting like typical people that are jealous. They're like he said, everybody wants you to fail. Did you hear him say that? Most people want you to fail. They want to knock you down to their level. They want to bring you down to, and then just talk shit about your success that you had in your life. Why? Why are you unhappy to see somebody having success? I'd like to see that. I want to talk to that person. I want to know, what did you do to do that? Why did you make it there? Maybe I can make it there, and bring in and go in there. I can bring the people that I care about along with me and make a better life for them. Why is that a bad thing? Only an idiot would think that's a bad thing, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
And thank you for that. It's meaningful coming from you. So I want to say this. I'll say that one thing I learned, and I learned this later in life. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? So you got to fill your cup first, right? And the funny thing is, what I'm trying to do, and I'm getting better at it, is what I'm trying to do is offer value. Meaning, hey, we're all into the mob stuff, right? Here's a cool little mob thing, or hey, here's ways to make money, or hey, here's Dave Meltzer. Next week we're having Dee Snider on from Twisted Sister, so we're gonna have more of a celebrity tone to it, to kind of learn about him and how he kind of made it, because he's still relevant. He was just in Cobra Kai. So my point being is, I want to offer so much value to people that's my relevance.
He's another guy. He used to be on a radio station in Connecticut, and he
Yeah.
lost everything too. When he made it big with Twisted Sister, he
Yep.
moved into his big mansion and then lost everything. And if I'm correct, he's still with his wife he's had for like 30 years, being a
Yeah.
big time rock star and all of that. Like he's
Yep.
made it through all of that crap and come out the other side of it. And I know he rides. I went on one of the rides with him, and I'm a motorcycle guy too, so Harley guy. So I mean, he's cool. I seen some of the shorts you put up about that too.
Well, you know me, my little teaser is just to get it cooking. Well, with him, the thing is, he lives in Belize now with his wife, and a lot of people know this. He wasn't drinking, he wasn't drugging. There's no like story about him wrecking rooms. He was always a little bit smarter business wise. I know maybe he had some rough goes financially, but he was always really smart business wise. He kept his library for a while. He sold it off. I think he gets some royalties now, but he sold it off. And you know what? I think it was the right move because it was before the streaming. Streaming kind of helped and hurt, depending how you look at it. So I'm eager to see how he handled his business too, because he's a friend of mine. I know him, and he's a client. But I'm really looking to dig deeper and unpack with him because he's a special guy, and that's I think that sounds corny.
He's a Long Island guy, right?
Yes, he is, and that's the other thing too. When I kind of started working with him, every single person, this is weird, George, Boston, Jersey, here, there, they would swear, oh my God, my aunt knew him. My aunt went to school with everybody like they have D being in from everywhere, but he's from Long Island.
Yeah.
He's from Long Island. So you know what? One of the things I learned is, like I said, you can't pour from an empty cup. Now that my cup is not nearly filled as I want it to be, but enough where I could say, you know what? I have nourishment. Now I want to start pouring a little bit in everybody else's cup. And I think, George, that's where I always look at, like, where can I win or where can we win? And I think this is an area where we can win is by really helping each other, empowering each other, and just legitimately helping each other out. You know?
Don't be discouraged by the numbers. I know there was like 18 or something for that, dude. Don't be discouraged by that, because I know there's got to be another guy like me watching this and saying, "Hey, man." And I started watching your new theory stuff before you ever even went to the other stuff.
Oh, wow.
So like, there's got to be guys out there besides me. And I never went in the chats. I never talked to nobody. The first thing when you guys had the first 4 horsemen and you had Vinny and all the guys at your house, that first time it was like 4-hour show. I was like, this shit reminds me of my dad at the club with the guy with his best friend that was the bookie. It was Vinny talking. I was like, wow, man, this is cool as hell. So, and I always watched and never commented, and that wasn't my thing, but I'm slowly getting out of that.
You know what it is? I missed that camaraderie a little bit, and a little bit got jammed up. It wasn't nobody was fighting. I got really sick, and then my daughter wasn't feeling well for a few weeks, a bit of a virus, so couldn't really entertain. And it's not that I'm a selfish guy. I have him here because logistically, I got the busiest home life. Jason has 2 kids, but he could scoot over the town over. So I missed that camaraderie a little bit. I'm hoping to bring some of that back. Joe and I are good now. I touched base with Vinny. We're good there, and thank you for some of that. And again, at the end of the day, we have one life. And it's
I got nothing to do with it, brother. You're just a good dude, man. That's all that matters. It had nothing to do with me.
No, I know, and I appreciate that. What's 1 or 2 other things that, like, I want to know? And again, you don't have to answer it now, but give me maybe your thought. So now that you listen to David a little bit, and George, you're getting one of the books. So there's only gonna be 8 available. Sorry, buddy.
I'll buy one. I got money, man. I can buy a book. Give it out to somebody that doesn't. You know what I like doing? Like Chad Marks does this stuff too, and I watch him. I always wanted to talk to him about getting him on the show too. He gives out the books to people that don't, give it to somebody that can't afford one or something and really wants it. I'll buy it. It's fine, whatever. I mean, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, bro. I'm not trying to say it like that, but what were you saying?
No, so I know, like, so you kind of have. Well, where are you at? Right? Are you in the? I know what I need to do, which I think you do. And now
I think I got a good idea of where I want to go, and that's why I said, when you have time, I know you're busy. We'll talk about it privately. Yeah, unfortunately, I had all that shit happen in my life. I went through that nasty split up with my mother's daughter and I lost everything I ever had, man. But fortunately, now I'm in a spot where I have basically no overhead, cash positive. Obviously, credit and all that shit got an ass handed to me because I went to prison and all of that. But uniquely, I have like very, very low overhead, monthly bills and stuff. Nice. So I'm just stockpiling cash so I could start looking at other things.
I love it.
It sucks going through that, but on the other side of it, it's almost like I came out with, now I'm not. I don't spend stuff that I don't need to spend, and I
I love it.
donate a lot of stuff. I try to help people out when I can, like you do. But I mean, that's where I'm at right now. So I can start rebuilding and moving. Right now, I'm in a stage where that's behind me. I went through that. That's behind me now. Now I can start moving forward and looking at what I want to do. And I think the best thing to go probably for me or whatever, or anybody, I think the only thing that's really they're not making any more of, and I heard this all my life, is real estate.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of a good play.
Who is that? What's his name? Mark Twain. They're not making any more land.
Right.
Know?
So, I mean, that's where I'm looking at. And I've got my whole life in the construction business. So I can, in the roofing part of it and all that stuff, I know all the guys I grew up with, I went to tech school. They're all plumbers. They own plumbing businesses, electrical businesses. Like I'm covered all the way around. I don't know. I do property maintenance to this day.
You were saying.
So I know how to run the properties. I know how to do all of that. That's the biggest part of that's 10%, 20 up to 20% of your overhead, right?
Yeah.
When you run property.
So you're skipping ahead, but I like it. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna probably do a separate show. Maybe we can do it together. Is when you first kind of like, hey, I want to turn things around. I want to start making money, and you're not in a situation where you have a lot of money. The first thing I do is there's 3 things that you need to put together. The first is what I call a personal P&L. That is what's coming in and what's going out. So you got to identify: are you cash positive? Are you digging your pocket, or do you have any positive cash flow? Right. So once you kind of figure your personal P&L, then exactly you figure out your cash flow. It could be $1, it could be $1,000, it could be $5,000. Then you say, great, I'm making $1,000 a month clear. You know what? I'm putting 80% away for this investment, 20% for ancillary things or church or whatever you want to do, right? Whatever it is, right? And then the third is you need kind of a balance sheet. What do I have? Do I have any assets that I could leverage? Maybe I have some equity in the house. Maybe I have even baseball cards that I can sell, whatever that is, right? So by having those 3 things, the P&L, cash flow, and balance sheet for your personal, that's kind of set for your template to say, okay, do I have enough to strike? Do I need to borrow? Do I need to leverage? Do I need an angel, investor? So those are the kind of things I recommend. But the other thing, so Lloyd is going to keep coming in.
We'll talk about all of that because I got something in mind right now. So we'll go. I was going to run it by you, but not that way, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm here, and Lloyd's coming in under the multiple accounts. I don't know. Again, like what's funny is I'm really doing my best to kind of get out of the fray. I put a statement out. I reconcile with pretty much most of the people I had to reconcile with, and it just keeps trying to get you to come back in and all
just
this.
Ignore it, Tom. Just ignore it, bro.
I know. And the funny part is a lot of it's most of it's untrue, which is even funnier. But the other part is I wanted to touch on is once you have those things kind of set up, hey, I know how much money I have. I know what I'm going to do, and I know how I'm going to do it. I like the fact that you're like, okay, I know what I want to do and have the idea and get it done. But in real estate, and I'm gonna have another guy on, and you're gonna love this guy. Is you get like say 25% down or whatever you put down, right? You have the 75%. Does the cash flow, is it greater than the mortgage, the interest?
Right. Are you positive?
Insurance. So I like the fact that you are able to cut down on the overhead with some sweat equity, because here's the other thing too, the cap rate, which people may not know, cap rate is if you have $1 million property and you have a 10% cap rate, you get $100,000 in rent. The cap rates in New Jersey used to be 8 to 10%. Now it's like 5%. So you need to do what you need to do in terms of lower overhead. You need to maximize your interest rate. If you make any extra money, pay it down, because that's the other part too. If you make $1 more per month on what's coming in on the cap rate, right, versus your expenses, why can't you do 30 of those deals, right? And the fact that what I like for you is the fact that you have the maintenance, but you have the connections with those crafts to keep that overhead down. So I'm excited to chat with you about it, and I think that you have some good opportunities here,
Absolutely. But it's not going to be just me. It'll be all of us. Jay will get involved. You get involved, whatever.
100%. Count me in. I mean, whatever I can do to help. And listen, if I have some free cash, I'll also invest in it, because I believe in your journey. I believe in what you're doing, And I think that's the important thing. We're going to wrap up soon. Do you have any questions about maybe David or anybody have any thoughts in terms of business questions that I may be able to answer? We got good stuff coming up. We have Dee Snyder on next week. That's scheduled for next Wednesday. I'm excited about that. Karen Gravano, I'm trying to nail down the final date. Mike Francis, I'm in discussions. He's a busy guy, but we'll see about that. Stay tuned for that. And then I'm going to do my Mafia snacks and my business snacks. We'll do some more of those. If you haven't checked it out, I'm predicting a stock market crash. Check out the previous episode. And
I still want to hear behind the scenes what you're predicting with that. So I didn't have a chance to call you yesterday.
It's and I'll give you my deep rundown. It was a business snack. And I'll unpack that. In my opinion, I just don't like what's going on. I think it's an internal and external issue. This Russian thing is going to be a lot bigger than people think on the world stage. And then the U.S., I just don't trust a lot of the policies and what's going on right now. So like to me, if I like what you're doing, I'd like you to hoard as much cash as you have, and then just coil up the snake and then strike when the time's right. But I think you know that already. And like I said, whether it be real estate and that kind of stuff or some other stuff that makes sense,
Yeah. All right, brother. I'll talk to you. I got to run. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Great show. I appreciate it.
I'll see you soon. Thanks for being on.
All right. I'll talk to you, bro. Later.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Check out davidmeltzer.com. Again, if you don't mind, I hate to be a pain. When we close this out, in the comment section, it's a little bit easier in the comment section, #book. There wasn't a lot of viewers today, so I'm going to put this out there, and I'm going to email it to a lot of people, so it's going to have thousands of views in a short term. But get the #book in there. I'm going to probably take care of my frequent flyers first, 4 or 5, and then another few I will do randomly. But I really want to get David's message out. I really appreciate everybody being on, although a smaller audience than I'm accustomed to having. I do believe in organic views, and I do believe in getting to the right people. And more importantly, thank you for watching the Armchair NBA.